Hey y'all, hey, it's JJ Conway. Welcome to Building Wealth Together, where our goal is to help you walk in abundance and leave a legacy. It's Wealth Building Wednesday, where we answer your money questions with style and grace. To ask your question, go to buildingwealthtogether.com and click Ask JJ or leave a voicemail at 1-833-4-ASK-JJC. Normally we'd answer questions, but today we've got some wealth building teaching instead. Hey everybody, it's JJ Conway. I want to welcome you to Building Wealth Together. I've got an amazing guest for you today. We've got Pamela Henkel, who is the founder of Purpose by Design. She is an author, conference speaker, pastor, and success coach. Her weekly podcasts, vlogs, and blogs are a lifeline of education and inspiration. She will awaken your dreams and purpose by design. Welcome, Pamela, to Building Wealth Together. I'm so excited to have you on the show.
This is fabulous. I'm so excited to be here. We've been having a great time.
We have. And one of the things that I want to loop back on, my family's on spring break this week, and they were a little frustrated because I was like, I've got my routine. You guys are normally not here. You know, we get everybody off to school. I come home, I do my thing. Like, no, I know it's spring break. Y'all, this is my routine.
Yeah, right. You got to get into it. JJ, how many kids do you have? How many children at home?
I've got 2 5 years old and 15 years old.
Oh my goodness. Well, that's kind of spreads the gamut there, doesn't it?
Yes, the 5-year-old was unexpected, but he's a blessing. That's for
Absolutely.
sure. I tell you what, I had the first one later. When I had my first one, some of my friends who started too early, their kids were graduating from high school and going off to college. So I was already behind the power curve. And now I'm like, man, I'm going to be in my 60s before this kid graduates. But you know, he's a blessing. He's a joy.
Yes. Oh, they are. And you know what? That's okay. My youngest is 10. And
okay.
My oldest is 25.
Woo! So you have an even bigger spread.
I have a big spread, and we've got 6 of them. And so when they 25 to 23 to 17, then we have 2 that are 11, and then we have a 10-year-old. And I have one grandbaby who really she didn't want to leave. She was here with me for a little bit today, and she said, I interview with JJ.
Aw. Well, that's the thing. On Les Brown's things, little one, he keeps wanting to come up, and then one time we were on with Les Brown, and he crawled in, and I was mortified, but you know, it all worked out. Yes. And it's like he just assumes that all of these are his uncles. Yeah. All of my mentors are his uncles and aunties, you know, and he's very comfortable with some big names. Like, well, when is Uncle Les going to have me talk? And I'm like, Uncle Les doesn't know you, honey, but he will.
And he probably would let him talk.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing that I want to ask you, because I like whenever I find somebody who's walked the walk that I haven't yet, I'm curious, with such a spread in your kids, how do you ensure that they still have a relationship? Because it's got to be difficult with the older ones already being grown and gone.
Yeah, you have to do it on purpose, JJ. You have to do it on purpose. Now, our daughter is the oldest, and that's the one that is married and has a baby, well, 2.5 now. And she is very much, I mean, we raise the kids, we're family. Now, a little gold nugget about our family, just so that it kind of makes more sense. I miscarried when I was very young. And then my husband and I tried to get pregnant, and it just didn't work. So we adopted all 6 of our kids. So and all 6 of them have a biological relation to each other. Not brother and sister, but there's biological relation. And then through adoption, they're siblings, right? So for all of them, it's very special because they have this unique bond already, right? And then as a family, we just always, family was first. We're all family, of course, God first, family second. And we just really developed that. And as they grew up, they were just learning. They just learned that family was like your best friend. You always, you protect your family. Your family's your tribe, for a lack of another word. And it really held. And our oldest daughter lives like 15 minutes away, and her husband, like my grandbaby was just here, just keeping that door of that communication open, and really I put a lot of that on my older kids. Not that my younger ones can't do it, but I put a lot of that on the older ones. It's like saying, hey, you're the one that's driving, you're the one that's moved out, or in my son's case, he lives in Duluth, which is 2.5 hours away. You really need to, stay active so that they bond with you. And it's not just like, oh, my brother Jordan that lives, 2.5 hours away. And they've done that, and just creating that healthy atmosphere of family is amazing. And a big part of that, honestly, has been forgiveness. And grace, because my house is never quiet. It's always loud, and understanding that there were times when my now 23 and 25-year-old, they got to be at a certain age, and their siblings were infants and toddlers, right?
Yeah.
And they were like, Mom, this house is uncool because there's all, so, and just going with that flow and just letting them, okay, well then if you don't want to have your friends here, then go hang out over there and whatever, and just continue to just cultivate that. And honestly, JJ, I spent so much time in prayer over it because I wanted a close knit family. That's my heart's desire, was that we will always be a close knit family. We spent a lot of time in prayer with that. We spent a lot of time cultivating that. And I would say, to the glory be to God, it has worked. My son is always here. My oldest son, Mother's Day, Father's Day, he comes down for birthdays, here at Christmas, here at Easter, and he's so much that way. And again, he doesn't live like in another state. He's right here. So it's, we don't have that to contend with. But that, I would say, pray, and just expect God to do it, right? Just expect him to give you the wisdom, and highlight each other and celebrate each other as much as you can. And we are a homeschool family as well. So the kids all grew up like we're the pack, right?
Wow.
So that would be my suggestion, is just keep them involved in each other's lives. And there is going to be a segment of time when the older one might say, oh, and you have to let them work through that. At least that's been my experience, is you have to let them work through that. And then eventually they become the best of friends. And that's just it. Those 11-year-old girls now that I have, that at first their big sister especially was just like, oh, these annoying little siblings. Now she can't get enough of them. Always wants to be with them and take them shopping, go to Target, go hang out at Starbucks. And that's God developing that heart in them. So if that happens with you, with the older one being like, give me my space, I just encourage you to let that older one have the space. Right.
Yeah, that was one of the difficulties with retiring from the military. And I, you know what, this has been such a good conversation. I hope you'll allow me, give it some thought and let me know, but I hope you'll allow me to use this as a behind the scenes. Absolutely. Because I have a lot of entrepreneurs who are worried about their families.
Yes.
And yeah, thank you. Yay.
Anything.
I really make an effort to make sure that my children know that they come first. And, when we looked at him getting older, originally we were going to put my office in the small bedroom. I mean, you can basically lay on the bed and touch the walls, right? It's so tiny. And then we thought, you know what? While we're preparing and saving up to buy our big home, ranch home that we want, let's give the teenager his own room.
There you go.
And we'll put my office, which is right here. There's a diagonal imaginary line in this room, and this half is mommy's half, and that half is Cubby's half. And so he's growing, and he's growing up. But the other day we had the conversation, like, it's okay that you and your brother don't like things. You don't, because they're very intertwined. And I was like, it's okay. He's only 5. He doesn't understand everything. We'll make some more time for you to just have you time. And so today we send him to spring break camp, the little one, and me and the teenager watched a lot of movies. I'm on TV overload, but my husband was telling me later, he's like, that really means a lot to him.
Absolutely.
And I'm like, okay, because it's really a lot of time I could have been doing something, but I want him to know he's first in my life.
I applaud you for that, because I think that that's what children, that's security and love. They need the security of whatever that looks like that mom is always going to be there. I always say we should be so reliable they think it's boring, but they need that security, knowing that we always have their back, and that just unconditional love. And if that is sitting up and watching a movie, if it's playing a game, or and they respect, like for us, when mom's door is shut on the office, then that means no matter what, you don't go there. You just, you wait until mom's done, unless it's an emergency, of course.
Right,
and then
right.
knowing that they get rewarded from that. But I also think it's of high value for, again, if you're using this as kind of, behind the scenes kind of things. I have found that my children, they respect the whole idea of business and entrepreneurship because they're in it. They're a part of it, right? And so they get to see it. It's not mom going off to an office elsewhere and I come home at 5 o'clock. They're in this and they're a part of it. They know right now what I'm doing. And they also are involved, whether it is mailing something out or helping me record or whatever it is, they're involved in it. And it gives them ownership of it as well. So I think that that's an important piece, is realizing that when you're working from home, it's not just, shh, gotta be quiet. I mean, of course, there's that aspect, but they're watching.
Yes, yes. And I love the fact that you are intentional about bringing your family on that journey.
Yeah.
Because like with me, with my boys, they earn royalties on when they can't play Xbox because mom is doing her thing, and some things they contribute, like some of the cleaning and stuff they contribute. That's just part of the household.
Right.
But I'll give them I'll give them a little compensation for the fact that my business impedes their free time. And then I have jobs that they can do. So there's many times where my oldest has addressed envelopes or typed in leads for me or anything like that he can do, and it gives them a part. One conference I even took him with me, and he was my photographer, and he loved it. Then he got mad at me when I didn't take him to the next one. He's like, Mom, this is our thing.
This is our thing. I'm your photographer. Come on. I love that. Oh, that's so huge, and it's so important for them.
Yeah. And so I would love if you have maybe one more tip for entrepreneur moms who really want to grow their business, fulfill their calling, but make sure that their family is taken care of. So I've got two groups that I'm concerned about tonight. I'm concerned about those who, like me, I get so into what I'm doing that I forget to bring my family or spend time with my family. But then there's the other where I used to be, where I would do so much for my family then I would never work on me or spend time with me.
Gosh,
and so
yes,
pick either or both, but if you could just drop some words of encouragement for either category, I would love it.
Oh, okay. Do you want me to do that now?
Yeah. All
right. Well, you know what? I have to say, I learned a long time ago that I couldn't afford not to invest in myself. I couldn't afford not to.
Yes.
And I heard someone that I really look up to and I'm inspired by, and she's a mom and a grandma. And at the time I was a mom, I was a new mom, I wasn't a grandma yet. And I was inspired by what she said. She caught my attention because she could put lip liner on without a mirror. And I walked up to her and I said, how did you do that? And she said, that's the lip liner anointing, and it comes after 40. I got such a kick out of her. So I would listen and I would ask questions. And she was a firm believer of getting up early. By nature, my natural bent is I'm a night owl, not an early bird. My natural bent is that way. But even though I'm a night owl, after a certain time, this night owl might want to stay awake, but this night owl doesn't want to do any work because the day has taken its toll, right? So I could say, well, I'm a night owl and my kids go to bed and it's quiet in my house and I get stuff done, and I can get stuff done, but I'm not as efficient, right? So I listened to what this lady named Lynn said to me, and she said, you know, I used to say, I can't afford to get up at 4 a.m. I'm up until X amount of time. I've got my kids, I've got my business. I can't afford to do it. And then I realized I couldn't afford not to do it. Right? Yes. And I went, wow, that's really powerful. I can't afford not to do it. Well, then I started doing it, but I found that I'd fall asleep. I'd get up and go to another room to maybe have my devotional time or my quiet time, and quiet time would just lull me right back to sleep. And then I'd feel so guilty, right? Because here I can't afford not to do it, and I'm getting up and I'm going back to sleep. Well, I realized that I shouldn't beat myself up about that. Like, you know what? I got out of bed and I tried it. You need to develop, again, we come back to mindset. You have to develop those new inroads. It's like laying down railroad tracks in your brain. You have to develop those, and they take time. And honest, just being transparent, I didn't just snap to and all of a sudden I'm up at 4, I'm up at 5. That wasn't the way it was. It took me time. It was over a year of me getting up and failing. And I like to say fall forward or fail forward, right? And eventually it did become habitual. Now, does that mean to this day, can I look you in the eyes and say, yep, I'm up every day at 4:30? No, I can't tell you that. But I will tell you this, it has become habitual for me to get up before everybody else does, whether that is 4:30, whether it is 5:30, whether it is 5:45, whatever, to get up and do that, because it has, as I said, become an inroad here that my body now obeys and does it because I tell it what to do, which is what the Apostle Paul said, right? I buffet my body. So we just, buffet isn't buffet. We don't buffet it. We buffet it, right? There's a difference. The spelling might be the same, but it's different. And we learn to do that. But the rewards that I have reaped from that, JJ, where I have more patience, I have more grace, I'm able to juggle more balls in the air, I'm able to get things done, I have more time to spend on me, literally, whether that is singing in the shower or it is reading a book or whatever it is, I find that time to do that. And I'm just more effective as a woman, as a wife, as a mother, and as a businesswoman, as a coach. If I can't coach anybody very well, if I'm not walking the talk, as you said, we need to walk the talk. Otherwise, I'm just a parrot. I'm just over here saying, transform, do this, do that. I've walked it for many, many, many years. I've fallen forward many, many, many times. But when I made that quality decision, I didn't look back.
Quality decision. I like it.
Yeah, that's one in my book you don't go back on. When I've made that quality decision, it's like bulldog faith. You're like that dog on a bone. You won't let go. And it's made a huge difference in my family and on my sanity, and just not beating myself up all the time. Like, oh, I didn't get up this time, or man, I lost my cool with my kids. When I got in that hang of it, life-changing. So I hope that answered at least some of it.
Oh, I think you've helped a lot of people today, because it's one thing to say do this or say do that, but sometimes we need to hear from somebody that's actually done it and been able to make it work. And I think a lot of times we feel like if we can't do anything completely amazingly awesome the first time we try, we're just not even gonna bother to try.
Yeah.
And what you're saying has also been true in my life. Is like I take the steps, during Christmas, between Thanksgiving and Christmas, my son and I do no sugar. So we just take sugar out of the equation between Thanksgiving and Christmas. And because I was concerned about my brain health, and I'd had a series of car accidents, and I was going to go get my brain scanned, I did the rest of the brain health, the brain warrior diet, which is not only no sugar, but no dairy and no potatoes and no corn.
Wow.
And you're also supposed to cut out wheat, but I was like, okay, this is enough. This is enough. This is as much as I can handle right now. Yeah. And but even after losing 7 pounds between Thanksgiving and Christmas. Granted, I gained 2 of them back when I ate my mom's cooking at Christmas. But even after losing 7 pounds and having a noticeable difference in my brain function and in the way my body felt, still in January, that habit muscle had not been formed yet. Those neurons had not solidified about why this was important. And so now that I've spent the last month trying to get back into that, and in my quest to get back to my fitness levels that I had before the car accidents and the baby, when I was, finalist for Miss Veteran America, and I didn't, I'm in pretty good shape, but I didn't look like I look now, and I had more strength and I had more stamina. And so those are the things, that like you said, I can't afford not to. And I finally had a couple, sometime in January, where I did a workout, and for the first time in years, my stomach didn't get in the way. And I was like, I can't afford not to work out now. Right. It's in the morning routine.
It is. It's got to be.
I remember years ago, I wasn't even that heavy back then, but I was always heavier than other Air Force women, but I was still in great shape. All my blood numbers and everything looked wonderful. But I remember a nutritionist telling me, well, if you just work at this, after a while, you're not even going to want ice cream anymore. And you're not even going to want sugary sweets anymore. And I looked at her like, that's not a goal of mine. Like, I don't have a goal to not want ice cream. That's abnormal, right? And now I'm at a point, I posted this thing about Girl Scout cookies. I'm at a point now where I got all those Girl Scout cookies in, and I was like, you know what? This is not going to help me get where I want to go. And I sent him with my husband to his job. I was like, get these out of the house, because this isn't going to help me. It's not going to help me get where I want to go. And it's not worth it. For where I'm at right now. It's just not worth it right now. I'm happy to support the organization. Right. I don't need this. And the taste of this, even when we went somewhere else, the taste of this was not worth the impact to my body, the impact, my brain function, the impact to my health and my stamina, not worth it. We've been talking a lot about why it is so important to be intentional with your family as you build your business. Can you expound a little bit on why it's so important for people to live on purpose by design?
Oh, that is such a great question. Many years ago, when I started my journey, well, we'll just say decades ago, when I started my journey, I really felt that I knew what my purpose by design was. And by design, meaning I believe that God has given all of us a purpose by design, all of us. And I really felt that I knew mine, and that was to go into ministry. Coming out of that, coming into ministry, schooling and all of that, and then coming out and stepping into ministry, I dealt with a lot of challenges, and a lot of them circled around, well, you know what, you're really not where you're supposed to be. Sometimes I was told, you're just too ahead of your time. Women don't do these things. And other times I was told, you should go home. That's where you should be. Go home, little woman, kind of attitude. And eventually, it started to, nobody could really tell on the outside. I could still go in and I could pull it together, but it really started to challenge me as to whether or not the purpose by design that I thought was mine, was it? I didn't want to be a joke. I didn't want to be missing it. I was married. We have 6 kids. I had 2 at the time. And I did not want to lead myself astray. I didn't want to lead them astray. And I didn't want to waste anybody's time. You know what I'm saying? So absolutely. I really was torn. And I can't even tell you that I went into this big time of prayer or anything like that. I really was torn. And I've mentioned this before, that I was literally up in the middle of the night giving one of our daughters a midnight bottle. Rocking in the rocking chair. I'm sure moms can relate to that. And my mind just inundated with, what do I do? What is happening next? And thinking, has all of this been for nothing? And also being ready to just lay it down and make a change. I mean, I have 6 kids. I could stay home, right? Who would blame me for that? And then I heard these words inside of me, and this is getting to answer your question here. I heard these words inside of me like a thunderbolt. And this is what divine, I believe, providence. It was an epiphany moment that God's purpose never changes, even if the plans do. And so the plans had changed from me going full gusto into what I was doing, only to be slapped down because I was not the right gender or I had the wrong color hair. And then life goes on, and you get married, and then you have children, and all of this other, all these things start to happen. You see the plans begin to change, and that doesn't always mean it's a bad thing, right? Plans just change. But that night I realized that the purpose that heaven had for me, I call God had for me, had not changed, and that it was a divine design. And at that moment, I made up my mind that not only was I going to fulfill mine, but that I wanted to help as many as I could along the way to fulfill theirs, because the purpose by design doesn't change, even though life happens, even though plans do change. It's a whole new world, JJ, when you look at it like that. It's a whole new world. And so in a nutshell, that's what purpose by design means to me. And it's my heartbeat. It's what I do. It's what I live and breathe. And I believe a big part of our purpose by design, first, of course, has to be to God and to our own self, right? To our own self, taking care of ourselves, being an advocate for ourselves, making sure that we're taking care of mom, taking care of the wife, taking care of who we are, right? And then to our family. And then we come back into whatever it is, as a mompreneur, as a solopreneur, as an entrepreneur, as a minister, as an author, whatever it is that we are supposed to be doing the rest of our purpose, right? If we take care of home, and the scriptures say first to Jerusalem, Judea, then Samaria, and the outermost parts of the world, right? So Jerusalem is like, it's me, it's my marriage, it's my family, and then we expand out, right? But it starts right here at home and within our own heart first. And every time I've fallen off that wagon, every time I've fallen off that horse, you get right back up, but you learn there's a reason why it has to be this way. And it's okay to fall down. It's not okay to stay down, right?
Right. Now that's so important. And starting with ourselves, I like to think that my audience has grown along with me in learning how to take care of themselves first. But I know that there are certain things that we can do to make sure that we continually refocus. And one of those that you really do champion is having that empowerment routine. And I know that you've got a fantastic offer for our guests today. For our audience today. Could you tell us a little bit about what you're offering us today?
Well, I do have an empowerment routine, and I love my empowerment routine. One thing I will say is I gave you the full meal deal on it. So if you do take a look at it and you print it off, which you really should, and you might look at it and go, whoa, this is overwhelming. It's like 3 pages long and it's all these words. And you could start there, look at it, and then adjust it. I honestly, JJ, I have my hour of power, as I call it. And sometimes I have my 15 minutes of focus. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you adjust it depending upon your morning and your day. Now, that doesn't give us a license to just like sleep in. Sometimes you might need to do that. And that might be part of your hour of power, is you need a little bit more rest, and moms deserve that. So my empowerment download for you is going to walk you through what I do. So I believe that we have to be centered up spiritually, mentally, and physically. And for me, I used to just, I get up and I do the spiritual stuff first, but sometimes my body would just want to go back to sleep. So I mix it up, right? So I might get up and maybe I go take a walk, or maybe I do some Pilates, or maybe I am, doing some, there's Life Bar or whatever now you can do. But I find a way to get myself in get my physical mind, so to say, set, so I'm in the right headspace that I can begin to delve into an inspirational teaching or quote my scriptures. For me, that's where I start. And then I go into some other declarations that my self declarations about what I want my current life and my future to be like. So I lay all of that out. How do I start out my morning spiritually? How do I start out my morning mentally? How do I start it out emotionally? What do I do with it physically? And it's all laid out there, but you can take it and adjust it as you wish and make it your own. And that's important. Make it your own. Don't use mine. Make it your own.
That's so important, because I remember the first time I made a confession list for prayer, I used one from Joyce Meyer that she had her baseline. And as I began to go through the scriptures, I was like, well, that really isn't what I'm going for out of life. But I felt even like, well, how dare you? You're not the great Joyce Myers, how dare you say you don't want that for your life? And it's like, well, no, I do want that, but I kind of want this. And it really is freeing to realize this is between us and God. It's really a you and God deal. It's not a me and everybody else judging me deal. It's what is it that I feel that I have to do in order to get to where the Lord is calling me to go. Now I'm going to take the input from everybody.
Yes.
And people can take your list and customize it to their situation. But if you've never had a list, hey, now there's a great one. And you can go to purposewithpamela.com to download your list. And didn't you say there was a mini course attached to that as well?
There is.
Oh, yes.
Class, and there's tons of resources in there. And just so your audience knows, I spent hours. This mini class came out of COVID, because when COVID sort of, slapped everybody in the face, I went into like, what am I going to do? How am I going to help people? I went into my little cave of, I need to come up with something. God help me come up with something. And it was in that time that this free course was birthed in my heart, and it came out. And I poured into it. I poured years and years of experience into it, and gave, as many resources, personality inventories, Pinterest boards, all kinds of stuff that you just tons and tons and tons of resources, so that nobody would walk away and think, well, okay, so she talked for 4 sessions, 4 videos. Yeah, that was nice. I really wanted people to walk away feeling impacted.
Yes.
That has
like they can do this.
Pleasure. Yes, that they can do this and have the resources they need, because that's the thing about being empowered. You can have an empowerment routine. You can take a class, you can do all of these things, but if you don't walk away with some tools and some ways to change the way you're thinking, then you don't feel empowered. You just have stuff, you just have steps, and it hasn't really been able to change you from the inside out.
Well, I think you have helped a lot of people take the concrete steps that they need to take in order to make the changes they need from the inside out, so that they can not only walk according to their purpose, but they can do so while growing a closer knit family and having the impact that they truly desire. Thank you so much, Pamela, for being on Building Wealth Together today. I hope everybody watching will reach out to Pamela, take advantage of this wonderful empowerment routine and mini course, so that you can make that next step in your life. I'm JJ Conway. I want to thank everybody for being here on behalf of myself and my guest today. Thank you for watching. Y'all take care and be blessed.
Love the podcast? Be sure to like, subscribe, and forward to 3 friends. You can ask a question or take a life-changing class at buildingwealthtogether.com. Now go walk in abundance and leave a legacy.